The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is August 12th, 2020. This is episode 231. And today, the Great Quakening. And you know me, I'm not Q, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast that tries to live stream and gets throttled by all the outlets,
Maybe
including our internet.
Who knows?
Yeah, they hate us.
Yeah.
But we're here.
We're here. We made it. So far, so good. We'll, all prayer warriors out there, you got to pray, make sure the stream stays nice and smooth today. You know, we can't count on it, but occasionally we'll get a show with no technical glitches. So maybe today is that day. And it's all thanks to you folks.
Yep.
Let's see here. Anything to go over before we get started, Gonz?
I did have a really weird dream. I woke up to dreaming about Trump as a time traveler. And it's weird because I haven't been really looking into that stuff for a while.
Time travel?
Well, just time travel or just Trump's sort of weird stuff he's involved in. But the weird part is that you and I were arguing about it. And we were arguing about it so much that we missed broadcasting the episode in my dream. So, false dream.
That sounds like something we would do.
I know, totally. But you know, it's funny.
Get way too caught up on a pointless conspiracy theory.
I did pull up some stuff that in my book that I've never published that I wrote back in 2013, 2014. Okay. There's a section called the Del Shah Design. And Del Shah was drawing these hand-drawn airships. And we've talked about this before. But again, this is 2013, 14. This is before Trump's presidency, although I know there were prophecies out there about him and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that I mentioned in the writings was that the illustrations, one of the airships had the name Trump on it, which is really weird in hindsight. Aero Jordan is another one that was on there. But if you're watching the stream, you can see the ship that Del Shah drew with the giant Trump sign on a red, white, and blue lined kind of banner type situation. And
when was this? When was this created? Who is Del Shah?
1930, I think, is when most of it came to light. But he was talking and looking at the airship phenomenon from the 1890s or 1880s. So it's a really interesting topic because it's these UFOs before they were called UFOs and flying saucers and all this stuff, but they were flying vehicles. They've inspired kind of the steampunk airship type of vehicles in anime and TV shows and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, just something weird and the connection also, and our friend Stan Deo brought this up early on in Trump's presidency. But Dr. John Trump, who is Donald Trump's uncle, was one of the first people to look at the Tesla papers when they were confiscated.
Right.
So another weird connection there. And then, of course, there's the weird book, the Baron Trump Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump, where he goes into the inner earth and travels through time and, just weird stuff written back in 1900. I think it was late 1800s too. So just a lot of weird Trump stuff that I've looked into in the past and for whatever reason decided to show up in my dreams this morning. And then you and I argued about the name of the episode and stuff.
in the dream.
In the dream, yeah. In the dream.
Wow,
people.
what a dense and interesting start to the show there. All based off your dream. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, I had been a while since I had recollected the Baron Trump adventures from a while back. We got to get back into that.
Yeah.
Well, sounds good. Loving it. Let's see here. I'm trying to think if there's any details I need to give since last episode. I don't think so. Just the normal time warp, completely losing track of time all the time. But
excellent.
That's time.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got a lot to get through here.
Yeah, let's start with the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, for those who don't know, Flippy is the colloquial name that we have for the disembodied arms who are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use it as a conversation to talk about how robotics and AI are just appearing in our lives in all sorts of ways that we do not have control over. Now, today, Gons, we got a little video from Twitter here. I actually had an article about this pulled up, and I lost it. I don't know where it is. Do you have an article attached to this thing?
I was looking for one, and I couldn't find it in the allotted time. So,
well, I forgot what I did with it. But anyways, what we have here is a very interesting little invention. The beloved, many will recall the beloved BB-8 robot, I don't know, I guess
Star Wars droid.
It's not a predecessor. It is a predecessor. It's predecessor character to R2-D2, cute little robot guy. Well, now it's real. We've got this robot that is a ball. It's like one big tire ball thing. It can swim, it can climb, it can roll, and it's outfitted with all sorts of cameras. In the article that I read on it, that has now disappeared into the ether, you can get these suckers from I think it was a half a foot in diameter all the way up to 7 feet in diameter. So they come in a lot of different. That's
a big ball rolling down, watching you.
And if you're unable to look at the video here, imagine a big black rubber ball that rolls around autonomously and's got wheels. It's got the cameras on the side of it. They've got nice pictures or video of it rolling through snow and dirt and swimming, floating around in a lake. This is I could imagine these just patrolling the streets. And so there you go. It's the new update. What is the name of this little guy? Guardbot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Guardbot. Robot surveillance ball. So it's a fun little guy. Not a Flippy update proper. No disembodied robot arms here. But as we continue to march steadily into the future, the robot overlords take many forms.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
By a giant ball? It's like a giant eyeball.
I know, and I feel like there's some I don't know, not mind control, but some what is the word? Programming and conditioning taking over. Because it reminds me of just your friendly schoolyard ball that we all love so much to bounce around, play wall ball. Did you ever play wall ball? It's a good game. Good game.
Handball?
But now big rubber balls are going to be spying on us all day, every day.
Excellent. Good update. I think BB-8 is much cuter, but, they went with a more menacing tire look.
Well, that's what you need to establish and maintain control.
Yep. All right, so speaking of control and programming your mind.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
Waccine.
Got a bunch of updates to get through here. First one, I don't know why this is so huge. NewYorkDailyNews.com. Russian President Putin announces approval of coronavirus vaccine before completion of clinical trials.
Loving it.
As everyone was talking about this yesterday, Putin trying to kill us all. Not yet so fast. So clever.
Niet.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said Tuesday he's approved the world's first coronavirus vaccine, calling it a cutting-edge answer to the fast-spreading disease ripping its way across the globe. Putin made the announcement on state TV despite the fact that the Wonder vaccine is barely out of phase 1 testing.
Nice.
Quote, "It's absurd. This is not how you do vaccine approval experiments. None of this makes sense," John P. Moore, a virologist at Weill Cornell Medicine, told the Daily News. Quote,
"That's what we've been saying."
Yeah, but it's against the Russians. They're allowed to say it now. "All they've done is phase 1 trial, and several phase 1 trials have already been completed in America. So they're not ahead of the U.S. They're just making a statement," Moore said.
Oh my gosh.
The Russian leader attempted to quell skepticism Tuesday morning, explaining that one of his 2 adult daughters had already received the vaccine. Her fever increased upon the injection, but was down to normal the following day, he noted.
As to be expected.
Hey, at least, as part of the propaganda, Putin maybe is listening to the conspiracy networks there, because, one of the big criticisms of guys like Bill Gates and all these vaccine people is like, hey, are you going to shoot yourself and your own kids with it? So Putin he got ahead of that one. He's like, look, I shoot up daughter. Look, she's fine.
In Russia, vaccine test you.
So, yeah, and it's funny how people are, the mainstream is framing this as like Trump versus Putin. Who's going to get the vaccine first? It's like a male-dominated war and all this stuff. But also Trump is in cahoots with the Russians. So, they can't get their story straight, which is pretty funny.
Well,
but
and that's the thing, too. The easy way to at least quell people's obsession with the romance between Trump and Putin is you just look at policies. Yeah, Trump, doesn't say mean things about Putin, but you look at Trump's policies regarding Russia. I mean, there's sanctions. He's getting in the way of new pipelines. He's really causing trouble for the Russian system there. So at least on a policy level, Trump is actually more stern on Russia than Obama was. I mean, don't even get into the Uranium One deal and everything.
Yeah, Obama was. Let's not talk about Obama and his policies that were just pretty much anti-American all around. But there was a story that along with this was supposed to be for our last episode, but for whatever reason, I think we ran out of time. But I think it's worth mentioning. And this is another waccine story.
Waccine.
And if I can get it into the tabs there. States have authority to fine or jail people who refuse coronavirus vaccine, attorney says. And this is from abc15.com. And it says here, as drug makers race to develop a vaccine against the coronavirus, several legal questions are emerging. Could the government require people to get it? Could people who refuse to roll up their sleeves get banned from stores or lose their jobs? The short answer is yes, according to Dov Fox. It's quite the name. Dovfox. Hi, I'm Dov Fox. A law professor and the director of the Center for Health Law Policy and Bioethics at the University of San Diego, quote, states can compel vaccinations in more or less intrusive ways, he said in an interview. Quote, they can limit access to schools or service or jobs if people don't get vaccinated. They could force them to pay a fine or even lock them up in jail. Fox noted authorities in the United States have never attempted to jail people for refusing to vaccinate, but other countries like France have adopted the aggressive tactic. The legal precedent dates back to 1905 in a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts. The court ruled Massachusetts had the authority to fine people who refused vaccinations for smallpox. And the story goes on here, but another quote here. Religious exemptions are not constitutionally required by the First Amendment's free exercise clause, provided that the vaccine mandates don't single out religion. They're not motivated by a desire to interfere with it, he said. But of course, those, if you recall a couple episodes ago, it's patriotic to take the vaccine, Basil, right? According to these opinion guys, these doctors that wrote the article for USA Today, the opinion piece, and religious exemption is not part of the discussion. You are basically a terrorist if you don't take the vaccine. Right. And now you have legal, or at least the state of California has legal precedent that dates back over 100 years to do that. Not a good precedent in my estimation, but just something to keep in mind as we enter this brave new world order.
An interesting point too, connected with this and the Putin's vaccine, is Fauci and all the American doctors are freaking out that the Russian vaccine is coming out so quickly, or at least it's not even out. It's just Putin said it existed and they're freaking out. But I mean, again, these vaccine trials are supposed to go anywhere between 4 and 10 years. And the whole world is smushing this process down to basically less than a year. And so, it's kind of a Putin's made of rubber and they're made of glue type of thing. They're not making a good case for their own vaccine by obsessing over his announcement of the Russian vaccine. And more than anything, we know that it's a economically motivated announcement. Whoever gets the vaccine out first to market, gets a bunch of money. And so, of course, we can't have that money going to a Russian company.
Right. Yeah. Let's move on here. Enough about waccines. People know about it. At least our listeners should be up to date on a lot of that stuff. We have a Ghislaine update.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
And I have a couple stories, but this one was one that I saw yesterday from USA Today. Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell complains about onerous jail conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it says here the treatment. Accused of recruiting and grooming girls, blah, blah, blah. We know about that. Basically, she's complaining that the people in the Manhattan jail where she's kept right now are mistreating her.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
It's called jail, Ghislaine.
I know. And the other story that was that came out, I think today, or maybe it was yesterday as well. This one was from Daily News or NewYorkDailyNews.com. Ghislaine Maxwell wants to be moved to general population at Brooklyn Jail. And, what's interesting is that a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how there was all these blackouts in New York in that general area and the detention center, the Metropolitan Detention Center. There was a big outage right there on the exact spot. And I'm wondering if this is just conjecture, but I'm wondering if they tried to do a swap out or, some kind of switch out body double type of situation. And they couldn't do it because of all the eyes that are on Ghislaine after what happened to Epstein.
Right.
And now they're complaining like, oh, we couldn't get it done. So, we got to complain now. And they're watching us too closely. That's her complaint, basically. Uniquely onerous conditions. Now she wants to be moved to a different spot. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, she was already taken off of suicide watch after complaints by her lawyers, which is step one. Yeah. Step two, I mean, she's just asking to be shanked. I mean, forget Clinton body count, or forget the massive amounts of elites that would rather her not be able to, appear in court. Forget all the forces that are working against her. Just simply, as many will know, people involved in child trafficking or, all the other connected crimes with that, they do not get treated very well in prison.
Yeah, even in prison.
Just from other inmates.
Yeah.
Being involved in child trafficking is a great way to get shanked outside of any sort of, elite conspiracy to take you out. And, she's just begging to be put into the general population. So, if this is true, if she's actually in there, if, if the basics of this story are true, sounds like maybe she doesn't want to commit suicide. She wants to commit suicide by,
being killed.
By
more
other inmates.
martyr.
Yeah, it's like suicide by cop, but suicide by inmates.
She'll be the martyr for the traffickers, and they'll start a rebellion, a rise, the pedo army rise or something. I don't know.
No, we don't have any stories about this, but the movements to destigmatize pedophilia are just insane right now.
It's been bad before, but I think it's gotten a lot worse recently.
Yeah, it's definitely at its peak. Well, at least the peak as of now, as of current current measurements. But yeah, no, this if not an extraction, again, like you said, during a power outage, which just happened in that jail, she is really putting herself in harm's way if she's actually in there.
Yep. All right, one more quick update, and then we'll get into some of the main stories here. This involves hairy legs.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
And the running mate of hairy legs, which might stifle.
We will launch a new age.
Trump's new age. This is I picked this one because it's just so absurd. MotherJones.com. Trump's campaign can't figure out how to attack Kamala Harris. Is she a cop or Antifa? They have a decision to make.
Right, yeah.
Oh, man, I love the way they frame this, and as if they have the upper hand here. It's just so funny.
I've got some thoughts about this, so let's get through this article.
Sure. It says here on Tuesday, presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden announced that California Senator Kamala Harris would be his running mate. If you want the details on Harris's rise in California politics, her record as a prosecutor, and her sometimes complicated relationship with progressive activists, read my colleague Jayvela King. If you want a preview of Trump World's line of attack, check out this statement from the campaign. And it's got this statement. I think it was from one of the commercials there. It's kind of a mess, which is surprising given how much time Trump team had to prepare this. But the second sentence stands out. Trump's campaign signals that it wants to highlight Harris's record as a prosecutor, for which she has drawn criticism from supporters of criminal justice reform, while at the same time accusing her of being soft on crime. Which one is it? Is Harris too tough on crime, or is she Antifa? That kind of sets it up. I don't need to get into the rest of it here, but I think that's
right.
the basic attempt to make it seem like they have some kind of upper hand here in the staged nonsense of politics. But
yeah, well, here's my thoughts on it. Oh my gosh. I think they really do have the upper hand. This is a very complicated thing to consider. Now, just to get some background, Kamala Harris is famous for being California's top cop, filling up the private prisons, specifically with drug offenses and people of color. She's famous for denying people who are on death row or have life sentences, denying them the ability to get DNA tests to get themselves out of prison, to clear their name. Very, very brutal sort of law and order type history with Kamala. And on top of that, there's a couple of things to keep in mind that are pretty widespread ideas, but I have totally disagreed with and still disagree with. One of them is the connecting Biden to the Antifa stuff. It's a big Trump talking point to say, in Joe Biden's America, there's going to be riots and looting and et cetera, et cetera. But the point is that Biden is not a revolutionary person. He is a total status quo corporate Democrat in a very classical sense, in that, he is fully, the dude is going to be 70. If he wins the election, he's going to be 78 years old. He's going to be the oldest sitting president. And he famously is a status quo guy, supporting segregation, actively fighting against integration after the Civil Rights Act. He's got a track record of trying to uphold the status quo of just the establishment, trying to keep power within a big government. And, I will say the far left types, they really hate this guy. They don't like Biden. Biden is the lesser of two evils. Trump, getting Trump out of office being the number one goal, and they're willing to put in Biden, who they really disagree with on a lot of things. But as long as he's not Trump, then he's the way to go. And there's a similar thing happening with Kamala, being the far left really hate Kamala. I mean, she really is police. She's top cop. She's supports the police. She's been super brutal on when she was the what is the word? Attorney General. Is that what it is? Attorney General of California. She's really built her career on being tough on crime, which these are, diametrically opposed to the far left. So what I feel like this play is, I think this is, if you are a moderate Democrat, an old school Democrat, you're pretty stoked on this because this has a very big chance of giving the Democrats a big lead in the election. This is actually kind of, in my opinion, cinched it, because what we're looking at here is the far left is a fairly small group, kind of like the far right. Most Republicans are not full on far right people. They're just Republicans. And same with the Democrats. Most Democrats are not far left Antifa supporters. They're just generally Democrats, been Democrats their whole life. They're status quo type people. And a lot of those moderate Democrats are liberal white people, and these liberal white people are just as scared of rioting and looting and all these types of things as everybody else. I mean, you think about, there were groups of rioters and looters going through Beverly Hills, making their way through these rich liberal California neighborhoods, causing trouble. And even the Democrats, the Bel Air Democrats, or the, you know what I'm talking about, the rich white liberal Democrats, they're not fans of this far left movement. So what you have going on here is a sort of Hegelian dialectic for the Democrats, which is, we have this far left uprising, violent uprising, riots, all this kind of stuff. And then which, most registered Democrats are not big fans of, having gangs of rioters and looters coming through and setting fires to their neighborhood. So what you do is you get a law and order Democrat. You team them up with one of the most infamous status quo corporate Democrats, being Joe Biden. And now what you have is a very strong moderate Democrat ticket that I think has the potential to go a long way, because you have people on the right. You talk about moderate Republicans who have been turned off by the Republican Party, and specifically Trump. Republicans against Trump, those types of people. These are exactly the people who are going to lean out of their lane, and they very well might go for this Democrat ticket because, they are socially liberal, but they still want law and order, and they don't want their homes burned down for seemingly no reason.
I think maybe the staunch Democrats, those who identify with the right-left paradigm there, I think they want Biden to keel over so they can have a female president and black female, or at least. Oh,
absolutely. This is a direct line to having the first woman president, and the fact that she's a person of color is even better. Now, keep in mind her mom's Jamaican and her dad's Indian. She's not necessarily of African descent, besides the ancestral lineage of Africans going to Jamaica. The Jamaican people, native Jamaican people, weren't black necessarily. They were more on the Latino or Latinx side of things. So, I mean, there is an ancestry of, an African ancestry there, but it's not quite the straight line that they probably would have preferred. But anyway, so there you go. I think this actually is this is as far as an Republican establishment is concerned, this is a very dangerous ticket. And I think that the riots and the looting and the violence is all part of the plan. Because what's the best way to lock in your scared liberal, white Democrats? sure they might support protests and stuff online until it comes to their own neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now they want some law and order, and I think this will get them there. Man, it's pretty crazy.
Didn't Harris like drop out of the California recently? Some of the voting from California recently, and she was like 4th or something here. She couldn't even cite the Democrats. I think in some kind of
Senate race or something.
Yeah, Senate race. Let me find it here.
If Harris moves up into the VP spot, it opens up a Senate seat that they can fill with, whoever they want. You could get a more radical, far left Democrat in the Senate this way too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is an older article from October 2019 saying that Kamala Harris is flailing with California voters, finishing 4th and then dropping out of the race here. So I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I see a lot of people making posts and stuff on social media about how this cinches the election for Trump, and I would not be so quick to make that judgment.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the elite decide to do. Do they want to keep the Trump train going, or do they want to bring in the hard? Well, it's not hard left, but it will be hard. It's like a doorway to the hard left.
Well, that's the thing.
States.
It's this a Biden-Kamala or Biden-Harris ticket is the softest, least intimidating Democratic ticket you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of how Trump was. Trump was a Democrat his entire life until he decided to run, and he had to choose a party, and so he ran as a Republican. Harris is kind of. I mean, there are exceptions. I'm not saying she has a track record that fully lines up with Republican ideology, but she has a track record that, you could look at some of the things she's done, and it would not be surprising if she were a Republican.
Her facelift worked.
So there you go. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. We'll keep an eye on it, and I don't know. This is an intimidating ticket, in my opinion. I know I'm going to trigger some people there.
Triggered
because
me.
They just
intimidating.
Don't like.
The whole thing is intimidating. The entire thing with people telling us what to do with our lives.
In an electoral science way, this is a very intimidating ticket.
People in the bubble of the right-left paradigm.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's get to one of the main stories here, because it really does touch on a thesis that we've been harping on for a few episodes here.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system. I tried to tell you!
And the thesis has been that the whole QAnon movement and this whole movement of, or this phenomenon, so to speak, of people that, or information that gets out on well-established outlets suddenly being pulled, and then only then the information going viral, creating this, what we talked about, a Streisand effect of, well, hey, why are they censoring this information, whether it's from doctors or from, whatever. And I think we confuse some people. We get emails and stuff of people saying, oh, they're just telling the truth and all this. And that wasn't the point. We were saying, yeah, they probably are telling a lot of the truth in terms of the medical side of things with the virus or masks or whatever it is. The point is they're releasing the information that normally would not be released on certain platforms, and then pulling it, creating that illusion that, oh, this is, banned information, and making everybody go, oh, it must be true, and then creating a movement out of it. And QAnon is sort of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that. And it's really interesting because we said how it's creating a new political movement, and or at least revitalizing the right, the Republican Party, so to speak. And that sort of sentiment was affirmed in this story, thehill.com. QAnon backer Marjorie Taylor Greene, am I saying that right? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
This is good enough for me.
Wins Georgia GOP runoff. So it says here, businesswoman Marjorie Taylor
No,
Greene.
it is Mayor.
Mayor.
I've heard her be called Mayory.
Taylor Greene on Tuesday won the Republican primary runoff in Georgia's 14th district to replace outgoing Rep. Tom Graves, overcoming concerns about her past bigoted rhetoric and embrace of the QAnon conspiracy theory. Greene and her opponent, neurosurgeon John Cowan, had both advanced to the runoff after neither candidate received more than 50% of the vote in the June 9 primary. Greene won with 60% of the vote on Tuesday, while Cowan trailed at 40%, according to the Associated Press. Greene celebrated her victory, saying she would work to, quote, save America, stop socialism, and defeat the Democrats. The race was thrust into the national spotlight in June after a number of videos showing Greene making bigoted remarks were unearthed by Politico. The comments included Greene comparing Democratic donor George Soros to a Nazi, saying the 2018 midterms were like an, quote, Islamic invasion of our government, end quote, and asserting that African Americans, quote, are held slaves to the Democratic Party.
Right.
The comments were quickly condemned by Republicans, including Rep. Jody Heiss, who rescinded his endorsement of her. Greene also gained attention over comments in which she expressed support for QAnon, a conspiracy theory that posits that President Trump and his allies are working together to expose and arrest an underground cabal of global elites who control the government. Quote, he is someone that very much loves his country, and he's on the same page as us, and he is very pro-Trump, she said, of, quote, Q, the mysterious figure at the center of the conspiracy theory, in a YouTube video from 2017, which was interesting. An interesting way the Hill summarizes it. Quote, I'm very excited about that now. There's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take this global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles out, and I think we have the president to do it, she continued. Despite the negative attention, Greene remained competitive with Cowan throughout the race, edging him in the initial June primary with just more than 40% of the vote to Cowan's 21%. An internal poll from Cowan's campaign showed the two candidates neck-to-neck at 38% heading into the runoff. Additionally, Greene appeared to have fundraising advantages, or have a fundraising advantage in the race. Greene raked in $1.59 million as of July 22nd, including a $900,000 loan from herself. She has spent $1.44 million in the campaign and has roughly $143,000 in the bank. And then it goes into how much Cowan spent, which was a little bit less, I think. Democrats quickly seized on Greene's victory and looked to tie her to Georgia's Republicans running in other races. Quote, Republican extremism is on the ballot across Georgia. And Mayor Taylor Greene's primary win tonight after embracing vile racism and conspiracy theories represents exactly what's wrong with today's GOP, said Georgia Democratic Party Executive Director Scott Hogan. Quote, her candidacy was designed to benefit Karen Handel, and her words have been embraced by Rick McCormick. Quote, Georgia Republicans own this crisis, and their mealy-mouthed statements can't hide the fact that Mayory Taylor Greene's nomination is a stain on their party, Hogan added. Quote, Georgia Republicans and Republican candidates running across the country will have to answer to her hateful views in their own campaigns, added Republican or Rep. Sherry Bustos, Democrat of Illinois, the chair of Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. And so there you go, a QAnon supporter, an openly QAnon supporter, winning a GOP ticket there in Georgia. And, it's garnering that divide and conquer methodology, and it's sort of exemplifying it to a T here, especially with QAnon being banned on Twitter and stuff like that. Now it's really, I think, causing a political move that we've been talking about, this sort of political roundup of one side of the aisle and pushing each side further and further apart in this sort of divide and conquer methodology. And do you have any thoughts on that before we get into some of the Great Awakening map that people have shared with us?
Well, we've always had reasons to be suspicious of Q from the very beginning. There's a lot of people who have flip-flopped on Q for years now. Since the very beginning of Q, we've been skeptical, and now, it's nice to see that I feel like we made the right choice there. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of talk on the social medias right now about how, especially with all the new agey stuff we're going to get into next, how, if we specifically take the concept of the Antichrist, there's some interesting ways to think about the Q phenomenon, especially as it's Q's positioning as against an evil elite, and Q will save us from the dark forces going on. And if that does happen, you combine that sort of Q savior complex with a lot of the new agey things, it is an interesting setup for an Antichrist type figure, saving us from the evil of this world and restoring, some sort of utopia where we're not run by pedophile elites and then, driving everything in a new agey direction.
Well, it's interesting because, the whole pedophile elite thing is real. It's a real thing. But it's fascinating because the takedown, so to speak, the cleanup job is something that I've pointed out multiple times, that the same elite or the same Freemasons and same sort of, cabal, so to speak, they've been talking about it. And I quoted it in Age of Deceit 3 like 2.5 years ago, where Manly P. Hall, who's an occultist, he's a Freemason, and he straight up on his last lecture said, in the 21st century, the Brotherhood has been hard at work. We're going to have a cleanup job where we're going to clean up all the corruption in governments and everything else, and the Prince of Peace will come. And that whole rhetoric is kind of like, interesting. They know, I think they allowed all this darkness to prevail because they needed a cleanup job to really shift things around.
Yeah, similar move. You see the exact move with what I just described with Kamala Harris and the riots and the lootings and things.
Right. Same thing. The divide and conquer, the problem reaction solution.
And Gons, we knew this was going to happen.
Did we trigger people?
We were going to trigger people. We got some YouTubers there saying, stop with the New Age stuff. Q has nothing on New Age.
Nothing to do about the New Age. Yeah.
You just wait.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an accurate statement there. But yeah, people have been sending us this link here to the Great Awakening, or not it's greatawakeningreport.com. For whatever reason, it doesn't load properly on my computer. Probably the Brave browser is blocking a bunch of little bots going on there. But the main sort of, PDF is this what I call a smorgasbord of New Age ideas, all being put on one poster. The Great Awakening poster here that shows every facet of all the things happening. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a big map of words that connect with many ideas, many of which we've talked about as believers, as Christians, as just followers of Jesus. We've talked about some of these issues, and that's the thing is some of these things probably have a little bit of merit in terms of reality or truth.
Well, there's a mix. Yeah.
It's a mix.
And just
for
those listening who can't see the image, it's separated in an interesting way. There's a big circle down at the bottom.
Half circle.
A half circle. A dome,
it's a dome.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a dome.
That represents the Earth. There's and inside this is just hundreds of tiny little references to different, I might have to pull it up in front of me here, of different conspiracy theories or New Age beliefs or things like that. Then they've got inside the Earth dome, there's Antarctica with a bunch of connections to the Antarctica conspiracies. Q has his own little circle. Vatican, Tibetan rainbow.
Ascension.
Yeah, I'm going to have to open it up
so there's
natively here.
Yeah, I'll go through some of these. So you got Antarctica, You have the
real quick,
pre-Adamites.
just for the listeners and not the viewers. Then above the Earth dome, there are circles that represent different planets and celestial bodies. The moon's there, Mars is there, Saturn's there. The Galactic Federation is there. All sorts of areas. The secret space program. Stuff like that. And all these big circles are filled with the corresponding ideas or conspiracy theories or spiritual concepts. And then there's occasionally lines and arrows and things connecting, the secret space program with the Earth and the moon with Mars and things like that. So just so you can make a mental picture. And of course, we recommend you take a look at it, not for any particular educational purposes, but just to
there's rabbit trails. Yeah, there's rabbit trails, and there's like lines that connect one thing to another. But yeah, in the in the Earth dome there, you have Antarctica, which mentions the pre-Adamites. We've talked about the pre-Adamic race as as sort of some believers believe that there was some kind of pre-Adamic race, and that has something to do with the B'nai Ha-Elohim. The book of Job does talk about the sons of God that shouted for joy when God created the earth. And so who are these entities? The morning stars are mentioned there as well. So these entities, these beings that were there rejoicing with God when God created the earth. Of course, some of them rebelled, and that same B'nai Ha-Elohim is mentioned again in Genesis 6 in the context of creating the Nephilim by sleeping with human women, the daughters of Adam. But so the pre-Adamites, interesting that, it's got the connection with Antarctica. A lot of conspiracy theories about Antarctica in the last few years. The Nazi breakaway group, the underground bases, which connects to another circle down here, which has the inner Earth civilizations.
Oh, yeah.
It says raptors.
I know. I just saw that. There's raptors in the inner Earth.
Yeah,
cool.
You didn't know about the inner Earth dinosaurs? Come on, man.
I knew about the dinosaurs.
Yeah, the Nordics and Anshar. And then over on the left, if you're looking at it, you have the QAnon Circle, which is the high-rank military intelligence. You have Trump. You have the hashtag we go where we go one, we go all. We have the Anons, the Patriots, the free energy or the release of free energy, which has a line that connects to the secret space program and free energy. You have the tribunals, sealed indictments. It just mentions all this stuff. There's no coherence per se. I mean, there is kind of a logic going on with this, but it's not like you're going to learn anything from this. It's more like, it's kind of like, hey,
it's just a collection of every possible topic that people have talked about, and including, a lot of the New Age specific things that are claiming to be the answer or tie everything in a nice little knot. One nice little note is right in the middle in big text says Great Awakening.
Right.
And right underneath it in little text says everything is an illusion.
Right. And the question is,
does that mean is all of this
an illusion? They're calling themselves out. Everything's an illusion, including everything you see here on this giant poster.
Yeah, and then at the very top, just to give you an idea of the spiritual through line of this whole thing, there is a line of different phrases with arrows going one to the next, and starts with artificial intelligence signal, which then has an arrow pointing to originally at one with the creator. And then it has a line that goes to one infinite creator. So, okay, all right, maybe we're talking about God. That's cool. Then it goes next to escape samsara. And for those who don't know, samsara is the sort of cyclical birth and rebirth type of thing. It's the
It's like a Gnostic belief system with
and it's also connected to karma. It's connected to the Eastern religions where your reincarnation is the word I'm looking for, but samsara is that life cycle,
right?
But on this sort of directional scale here, they have escaped samsara, so you escape the reincarnation cycle. Then another arrow goes to mystery of universal creation, and then ending with the next arrow goes to return to source. So it is very much a New Agey, explicitly New Agey. You've got connections to not just Eastern religions, but the mystery religions.
Yeah.
And that, should be setting off alarm bells for anybody who's in the know.
Yeah, and I thought some of the names mentioned here are very interesting. I didn't see Jesus. I tried to look for Jesus or Yeshua or something like that.
Yeah,
they didn't
find Jesus on here anywhere.
They didn't mention Jesus. They do have a Vatican circle, which connects to the reptilians, the elongated skulls, the Lucifer telescope, the Vatican Library, and it's surrounded by things like Project Paperclip, Warner von Braun, the Knights Templar, Freemasons, Jesuits, Khazars, MK Ultra, DMT, meditation, all kinds of stuff. But right outside the Earth Dome circle there, you do have Elohim mentioned, and Elohim next to Anunnaki and the Book of Enoch, and the precision of the equinox, and so there's a mention there. But it's just interesting how when they do mention names of people or things, it's like the most super New Agey people you can think of. David Wilcock has a pretty big mention here, right next to the Law of One, which is something that a book that he read, and he allegedly channeled the same entity from the Law of One as part of his thing, and he's claimed to be the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, and he was also touting that in 2012, December 21st, 2012, we're going to hit a galactic wave that's going to instantaneously transition us into higher entities, and those who are not 51% good are going to be kept in the lower realms, while the rest of us are ascended to the higher realms. And of course, that didn't exactly take place there. But yeah, somebody that I was following very closely back in 2010. Because I was trying to figure out what the alien, or maybe even earlier than that, 2009, 2008, when just right after a couple years after I was baptized, and I was looking at the alien conversation or the alien topic, extraterrestrial topic, and how it related to Jesus or the Bible, if at all. And of course, not a lot of people, not a lot of Christians talking about it, or at least openly. Nobody in the church I was in was really helping out. So you go online, you look for things, and the people that were talking about it were New Agers. It was people like David Wilcock saying, "Oh, Jesus was another prophet. He was a Star Commander Sananda, and he was one of these light body guys, along with Buddha and all this kind of thing." And very diametrically opposed to the kind of Jesus that you'll hear about in church, or at least out of your Bibles. And I've noticed the same sentiment being pushed out there by a lot of QAnon folks, and not everybody, but there's definitely a segment of the Q folks who are super New Agey and are super into this idea that, oh, Jesus and the whole Bible is just the same thing. It's another control mechanism. And what you're doing is following, they repeat this and parrot this idea of a white European male, savior figure. And that's who you're following as your sort of escape. And they'll mention, it's interesting because they use the argument that Protestants used against Catholics during the Reformation time, because they'll say, you have a direct connection to God. You have a direct connection to the what they call the source. You don't need an intermediary. You're using Jesus as an intermediary to connect to the source, and you yourself are part of God. And it's in my opinion, it's a very deceptive way to get people off the path of the truth, in my opinion, and in my belief and my conviction. And it stems from Gnostic wisdom or Gnostic tradition, where the integral split between physical and spiritual matter, and spiritual matter, or I don't know what you'd call it, but spiritual material the
having
aether.
The direct connection to the sort of amorphous creating force that is God.
Yeah, and so whoever said in the chat that there's no connection with Q and the New Age,
it is explicitly that, and that's
to differ.
I think that's something that we sort of discerned, if you want to use that word, or just another called shot, of which we have many lining up. Thank you very much. But that's kind of the thing, because you see a lot of Trump supporters, but also straight up, people who would identify as evangelical Christians, using Q as basically law. Q is the truth. Q is leading the charge, and it's all based around support of Trump. Where here's the thing: if you support Trump, that's cool. You don't have to jump feet first into this Q thing to support Trump. Now, obviously, this Q thing is not nothing. I mean, it has gained
it's huge.
Enormous spread and popular attention. So this Q thing is very serious, and the amount of momentum it's gaining is incredible. But remember, I mean, if you are someone who identifies as a Christian, whether evangelical or wherever, Catholic, wherever you're coming from, Q is explicitly against Christianity, and if not against, it does not include Jesus in the matter. So you've got kind of a cognitive dissonance you're going to have to get over. Like I said, if you support Trump, you can support Trump politically, but you don't need this, kind of wackadoodle, deceptive conglomerate of New Age ideas called Q in order to, hold your political, your political leanings.
Right. Yeah. So it's so interesting that the New Age ideas are very present in not just this, but the whole Q thing. And I made a couple videos why Christians should ditch Q, and that got a lot of people upset. But it also, I did get a lot of messages saying thank you for showing me some stuff that is clearly anti-biblical, anti-Christian, and in very, very tiny letters at the top here, it says, increase your service to others and be more loving to yourself and everyone in order to raise your vibrational consciousness level. Forgive yourself and others, thus releasing karma. This will change the vibration of the planet, raise the shared consciousness of humanity, and change humankind one person at a time. Treat your body as a temple and change over to a higher vibrational diet to aid in the process. Signed, Ra. R-A, Ra. The Egyptian
high
god Ra.
High vibrational diet. That's
high vibrational diet.
That's like microwaved corn dogs, because microwaves excite the water molecules within food, causing them to vibrate, which heats the food. And so a high vibrational diet is really just anything microwaved. And don't let anybody tell you anything else.
Wow, you're really pushing the GMO food.
I'm deep, man. You're deep
into it. So what I wanted to mention about this, though, this idea of service to yourself and others, overall the message itself is not like bad. It's like, hey, be nice to people, of course, So you're not refuting it at that level. But in terms of if you're going to approach this biblically, let me read for you something, and then Basil, try to guess who this was written by, okay? And this is talking about this idea of service to yourself and others. Men of goodwill who cooperate form part of the new group of world servers, which is working to implement the plan. The leaders of the new group of world servers are those who initiate and carry forward activities which benefit humanity as a whole. These leaders are known by their harmless, constructive, and inclusive qualities. They provide the vision and mold public opinion. Behind these leaders and the cooperating men of goodwill are the custodians of the plan, quote, the inner spiritual government of the planet. Do you have any idea who said that?
Nope.
Does it sound Q-ish?
From what I'm looking at now, yeah.
Okay.
Kinda.
This was mentioned by Alice Bailey in her book, The New Group of World Servers. She also has a whole segment on how to build the New World Order. And what I pointed out in the video, why Christians should ditch QAnon, I showed how much of the things in the Q posts, this isn't this poster, this is like straight Q posts from the Q map or the Q pub and all the Q stuff that's been out there.
As you're going into this, let me just make a comment because this is going to answer a lot of people's questions. One YouTuber here, what the heck are you talking about? We follow the Q clock, not the Q map, you shills.
Right.
So, of course, if we disagree on something, that means we're shills. Still waiting for that check, that shill check.
Shill check, yeah.
One of these days, I'm going to get that shill check. And then a lot of people saying QAnons don't use this map. Not any I talk to. So a lot of people trying to distance the belief in Q from this Q map.
Well, that's what's interesting.
Now you're going to read not from the Q map. You're reading from some Q outlets themselves, correct?
Well, yeah, I don't have it all prepared in front of me, but yeah, that's what's interesting about this is that a lot of people, a lot of Christians that are into Q only see Q as this military movement from within, these white hats that are just trying to take down the pedophiles. And that's it. That's the only thing that they see out of it. And they don't see this whole other stuff that's been built around it. And not always just from Q posts. I get that. Like, it's not always, it's a lot of these new agers taking the ideas from the Q posts and making it, something more. A lot of times I understand that. But
this is the amount of trigger from the Q people in the chat.
Oh, we knew. I told you it was going to trigger people.
I'm loving this. This is great.
Yeah, but the point being, and what I showed in my video, why Christians should ditch QAnon, is that a lot of the Q posts themselves are pretty much verbatim what Alice Bailey has talked about in creating the New World Order and other New Agers and Gnostics have said. And for example, I think there's a Q post that says like "Brave New World." And the whole idea of a Brave New World being in Aldous Huxley, the whole fiction there that's not really fiction, but the defenders of Q have stated like, oh, you're just making word associations, like you can just take anything and make word associations and make it mean something else, but the big one is the awakening. They talk about the awakening, the Great Awakening. And, the original Great Awakening was made by the Enlightenment. It was part of the Enlightenment process, right? Rationalism and all this. And then it was kind of moved into a Christian awakening, right? Like it was kind of not hijacked per se, but it was kind of used in that way to start a Christian religious spark or religious revival. And I feel like this is the exact same thing, except this time it is creating a sort of religious revival, but in this like modern 2020, 21st century, new age type of stuff. And that's where I think people just need to use their discernment. You don't need all this stuff to actually, find the truth. Like, again, there might be some really interesting rabbit holes with a lot of these topics. Like I saw one here that was really kind of interesting. I kind of want to look into. AI profit species, and they'll be eliminated during the great solar flash for 1,000 years. So again, they're putting a lot of biblical ideas, 1,000 years, the millennium and other things, and trying to make it this whole new agey fleet, or I mean, not new agey fleet, but a new age context. But yeah, I know it's a divisive topic, but I wanted to bring it up because a lot of people were mentioning it to us, emailing us this big chart here. And, you can go to qmap.pub and pull up certain things. And the other thing I found very interesting, and I pointed it out in my video, was there was never one mention of Jesus in any of the Q posts. And then I think in July, they finally made a post about Jesus. So yeah, maybe they're doing some intel
they
work.
mentioned some Jesus in there. That's good.
After being called out for not ever mentioning Jesus, though. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but
oh man, there was another another map, and I'll just do this real quick because our timeline is closing in on us today. But further down on the page, underneath the big crazy map, is another Ascension 5D map. And it's that classic memeable iceberg meme where, it's a picture of an iceberg and you can see it underwater as well. Then there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. And then there's a bunch of words in each level to kind of tell you how close you are to the bottom of the iceberg. Level 1, this will seem familiar, killer vaccines, false flag attacks, sheep asleep, celebrity suicides, child trafficking. Q map happens to be on the level 1, which is interesting. The Matrix, dark web, TSA body scanners, kind of your basic conspiracy theory stuff. Then you got level 2 guns. That includes UFO, anti-gravity, Area 51, 0 point energy, CERN, ancient aliens, crop circles. Kind of getting a little bit deeper into the more complicated subjects. Level 3 then starts moving into meditation, astral travel, past life regression, channeling, lucid dreaming, yoga, chakras, spirit guides, sacred geometry. So pretty explicitly New Age ideas. At level 3. Level 4, you get into Tibetan Buddhism, higher realms, group mind, empty awareness, enlightenment, etc., etc. And so level 5 being, escape samsara, cycle of rebirth, end to all suffering, the mystery of universal creation, return to source. So it very much is. If you now again, where there's a lot of people in the chat saying this isn't Q, this was made by a Q follower, this is yada yada yada, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm not saying Q themselves, whoever Q may be, put this map together and put it out there, but this is the direction that Q has. It's a big part
of the movement.
That's what it is. It's crazy. It's you have to be deceiving yourself. We're still getting these chats specifically from one very, very intense Trump supporter who just keeps typing shill into the chat. Again, I'm not sure if that word means what you think it means. But
are they saying we are shills or they are shills? I can't even tell anymore.
They're trying to say we are shills, but okay. I think they need to use a dictionary. A shill is not just a word for someone who has differing opinions. That'll start you off on the definition there. But the point being that, level 1, okay, GMO food, fluoride, patriots, white hats. Oh, that's all great. Level 1. But then, of course, it ends with explicit New Age spiritual goals at the level 5. So there you go. Anyways.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's very subtle with this stuff. And are you looking at the chat?
I'm sorry. I got to stop looking at the chat because it's just too much.
Yeah. From darkness to light, all these little sayings. We talk about, in the Bible, how it talks about how Lucifer or Satan can appear as an angel of light. And so there's that. And again, it's one of those issues where, and I've tried to weave this nuance here, and it just falls on deaf ears to most people out there, or not. I don't know. Maybe the people that understand it just aren't saying anything. But there's a part of me that's like, yeah, of course we should take down like pedophiles running things. Like we should definitely do that. We should definitely get them out of there, out of positions of political power and stuff like that. And I'm rooting for the white hats that are truly trying to do that. There is a war happening from within or in the high ranks or whatever. But, at the same time, we talked about this in the conversation in the last episode about surveillance. What is the measures, or what are we willing to sacrifice ourselves to ensure that no pedophile type of network is going to rise again, or that our children are not going to be pulled into some kind of weird thing? Are we going to microchip them? Are we going to up the surveillance apparatus and just hope that all the people that are using it are white hats and good people or good Americans or whatever? It's a very, very, if you think ahead and how it plays out, even if this whole network is taken down, it's troubling. And the other thing,
it's just the fallen nature of humanity.
Right. Yeah. And those are things that are very opposed to some of the stuff that Q posts mention, how humanity is good, where it's like, the Bible says we're all born in sin, but I get what they're, I guess, trying to say we're generally good or whatever. But there was one more point that I wanted to Q really, and a lot of the people who support Q pushes this idea of free thought. Think for yourself. Don't follow the crowd. Don't follow the establishment. Think for yourself. And so, as free thinking individuals like you and I, Basil, and other people out there, I would say that I am using my ability to think freely to come to a conclusion that is somewhat opposed to this whole Q movement, but therefore, because I'm not agreeing with the status quo established by QAnon, I must be a shill or a hater or a Democrat or whatever.
Let me clarify something. And yes, that's a great point. And let me build on that. Just, I'm sure we've got a lot of Q followers who've already left the building. But if you're still here, here's the point. The point is, we're not saying everything Q says is a lie. We're not saying even that, I think Q has done a great job of bringing awareness of all things that need to be need more awareness. I think the whole Q movement so far has been a net positive. I'm very happy that this Q thing has grown and mobilized people and kind of inflamed the passions of fighting against a lot of the elite nonsense. I believe a lot of the Q info that comes out is true and has led to actual takedowns of certain groups of people doing nasty things. I'm not saying I wish Q never existed. I'm very happy about a lot of what has come out of the Q thing. Sure. And I'm not saying never listen to Q. I'm not saying never read the posts. In fact, I think a lot of the posts have caused a lot of, like I said, mobilization in the right direction. So we're not here to say stop paying attention to Q, and Q is, is a net. Well, again, as of now, as of this recording, I believe Q in its totality has been a positive force. That may change in the future. We don't know. We'll have to see. So, all the people out there calling us shills or all the other nasty names that are pretty hilarious that I've seen in the chat. Just because we have different points of view about what Q is and where it's leading doesn't mean that we're enemies, okay? So please, other people, keep track of this Q thing because a lot of good stuff has come out of it. Okay, now that I've said that being said, there's what we're talking about, and what worries us is the direction in which it's heading and the sort of clues that are being released to what an end game might look like for the Q movement. And so the point being that, a lot of Q has made the world much more interesting in the past few years. I think it's responsible for, a lot of attention being brought. But when you look at the wholeness of what's coming out of Q and you start aiming it, you start tracking the direction that it's going, it does look like a setup for something that is not necessarily something that specifically Christians should be, calling as the ultimate answer. That's mostly what we're saying. Now, of course, there's a lot of theories about Q being disinfo or being co-opted or changed or taken over by a different group since the original Q posts, things like that. But so there you go. Just so everybody has an idea, if you're a Q head, that's totally cool, man. Keep doing your thing. Just watch out when just keep an eye on it. Be ready to bail out. Don't be so invested that you'll follow Q all the way to escaping Samsara and, the mystery of universal creation and all the, all the stuff that you don't want to end up in. And this is something that everybody needs to do for a lot of things. I'll say people who listen to our show need to do this, and that is set a line for yourself. What line could Q cross that then is your signal to get out, or at least stop, following instructions from Q? What is the line? Find your limit to what you'll accept and what you'll let into your life from Q. Because if you don't have that in mind, you're a frog in a boiling pot of water. You'll just follow the Q movement all the way to wherever it ends, and you'll yell at people who disagree, and soon you'll be trying to tap into the collective consciousness and let your rainbow light body ascend.
Yeah, and I'm still seeing people that don't get the nuance of the argument in the chat, but that's okay. That's always going to happen. And let me just say,
that's the brainwashing. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the defend Q at all costs, and not listen to reason, and not consider that a measured approach to Q might be a way to keep your integrity and keep your own soul. And as I talk about in many episodes, including this one, keep a close eye on who you're letting pull your puppet strings, because a lot of people are letting Q pull their strings, and you need to know when to cut those. And I'm not saying whatever, you do you, man. You figure that out. Find the line for yourself. Because how far are you going to let this go and control your thoughts and behavior is something that everybody needs to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, and let me say one last thing before we wrap up this segment of the show here. There was a lot of talk, and we actually covered it, 30 or 40, maybe even 50 episodes ago. There was some people in the Christian community that were, the truther community, so to speak, that were saying that Q is part of the second beast. That Q is sort of this, taking it from Revelation 13 here, verse 11, then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. This beast had 2 horns like a lamb, so it's kind of like looking like a good thing, but spoke like a dragon, which you can argue Q is doing, that they kind of look like this wholesome good thing while they're speaking, saying all this new agey type of stuff, kind of woven in. And this beast exercised all the authority of the first beast and caused the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast whose mortal wound had been healed. And a lot of people took this idea that, hey, we're moving on from this the first beast era into the second beast era. And the second beast, if you keep reading, is the one, otherwise known as the false prophet. He's the one that actually issues the mark of the beast. And he's the one that actually causes the people in the world to believe the lie and build the image to the beast, and again issues the mark of the beast. So I know that sentiment somewhat rings true to a lot of people, but you also have to be careful because there's a lot that has to happen geopolitically, and I'm not saying that Q isn't, but again, it's one of those things where it could, you don't want to tie yourself down to one thing or another. Q on one hand is the greatest thing to happen, but on the other hand, if you're going to go 180 on it, then all of a sudden it's for sure the false prophet mentioned in the book of Revelation. I'm not ready to go there yet. I can understand why people think that, but that's also a little hasty. But I understand why people can believe that and why people think that in general. And, we've talked about the Gesera thing where they have this big pile of money somewhere that's awaiting, the distribution amongst all the people of the world. But in order to accept the money, you have to take an oath, and that's where the mark comes in. And, I get it. I get the logic. But even that whole Gesera topic, a lot of it is dependent on New Age sources, like people that are New Agers that talked about Gesera and Gesera like 20 years ago or something. And it's really hard to nail down that there's even any kind of true documents in government or government bodies that have some kind of, some kind of document that says that, oh yeah, we have this, I can't remember how much money it was. It was some absurd amount of money, like $140 quadrillion all saved up by this one guy, and he's going to redistribute it and all this. It's we don't know. And, keep an eye on it, but it's one of those issues where you can go hyper the other way and just sort of miss a lot of the nuances in Scripture as well that tie in a lot of different parts to what the false prophet really looks like. And if anyone wants to do a Bible study, look at the prophet Elijah and compare him to the beast from the earth. And I think you'll find some very interesting things if you do that study and what the whole thing is supposed to look like biblically, at least according to Revelation 13 and other parts of the Bible that connect to that. So, just, trying to keep that narrow path. I've mentioned it over and over, but man, it's becoming very narrow, Basil. I feel like you're going to be hated by supporters and haters of QAnon alike because you're not taking a hard stance either way.
Oh, I'm used to it. No
I know
problem
you're used
here.
to it.
So, speaking of which, Gons, let's take a quick break.
Let's do it.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
Let's take a quick break, everybody, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we are got a couple of little updates here that we're going to need to talk about. There's actually a ban on masks happening. We also got a little bit of CRISPR news, some genetically modified squids, and depending on the time that we're looking at, there's also a very interesting thing about a helicopter getting shot down over American soil recently. So all very important stuff. Make sure to stick around. But we're just going to take a very quick break and thank some people who need to be thanked. Are you ready, Gons?
My dinger is in hand.
Oh, enhance. All right, so we want to take a second real quick and run down the list and thank some of our new Twitch followers. Of course, we're always asking people to follow us on Twitch. It's a good idea. It helps us out. I've talked about that many times before, but if you're looking for a way to help Gons and I out, following us on Twitch is a great way to do that. But it's also important to follow us on many different outlets and turn on notifications because it's kind of a gamble. It's a roll of the dice if you're only following us on one outlet, whether or not you're going to get a notification when we go live. So here we go. I want to thank these people who followed us at twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Are you ready, Gonzo?
Ready.
Nintendo Ultra.
I like that.
Static XTX.
Like the band?
Static X Texas? Yeah, maybe. Hold on. Andrea Truesdale. Lady Wisdom. Hidden Realm.
Ooh.
Yeah. Loop Dog the Free Frog.
Nice.
Rudder 500. Oh, I'm just going to have to run at this one full speed. What does this say? Rona done pass me by. Oh, okay. That's good news. Congrats. Yeah. Episode 88, Mr. E. Babylon. Uh-oh. Got Livy 8. Crip X 26. Step Rouge. There we go. I think that's all of them. Let me do a quick little refresh here just in case anybody came in. Nope, that is all of them. So thank you to our new Twitch followers. We appreciate that very much. And if you're looking for a way to help us out, the best and easiest way to do that is to watch live on Twitch. YouTube, everything's demonetized and shadow banned on YouTube and other places. But Twitch so far has been pretty good to us as far as keeping us alive here. Gons, earlier in the day, we were number 8th on the talk show and podcast category. Oh my gosh. This is a surprise. We're at number 4 now on the talk shows and podcast category on Twitch. It's been a long time since we've been that high on the list. So there we go. I guess we got to talk about Q more often. We used to be up at like number 1 and 2 pretty often, but I see number 2 right now is somebody's just live streaming Trump. So of course that's going to get a lot of attention. So there we go. Thank you everybody so much. Now, secondly, we're just going to zoom past this, Gons. Secondly, we want to thank some of our new producers of the show just to let everybody know how this works. A lot of content on the internet is monetized through advertising. That's a way for that's the main way for people who do what we do to help pay their bills and keep the show going. But the problem is advertising. What it does is it turns you, the listener, into a commodity for the content creator. That's us to just sort of harvest and sell to big corporations for our own personal gain. It's the reason for a lot of the problems in the world today. It also, when you start taking advertising dollars, you're pressured to be brand safe. You can't say everything you want to say. You have to, be careful about the topics you cover. And honestly, we just couldn't do this show if we had to rely on advertising. And it just doesn't feel right to feel as if we are ranchers having to sell off commodities in order to support ourselves. So that's it. We don't think of you as commodities. You are your own autonomous individuals who have a lot of options to how to spend your time, and we're thankful that you choose us once in a while. So thank you very much. Now, instead of packaging you up and selling you to advertisers, we just ask that, hey, if you want to keep the show going, if you get value out of the show, if you want to, help the show grow and keep us autonomous from the advertising industry, you can just join in and become a producer and help pay for the show. And you can do that at patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And Gons, since Monday, it's been a slow week for new producers, but I do want to thank our very newest, coolest producer, and their name is Frank. So thank you very much, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
On the CCNT Patreon. We also have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. And just a reminder, a lot of people, we have a lot of new listeners. We actually have another podcast. Our original podcast was more of an interview style show where we interview researchers, authors, scholars, academics, all sorts of people. We interviewed them. We did that for years and years and years, and we still have more we're going to be putting out. But if you need to add some good quality content, make sure to search Canary Cry Radio. The best way to do that is on any podcast player because that's where it lived. This whole video streaming thing is fairly new for us, but there is an entire collection of Canary Cry Radio episodes, and listening to those will broaden your worldview, will give you some important insights, not just from two crazy guys who like to get on and talk, but from actual experts, researchers, authors, scholars, academics. That has really been a life-changing collection of material for a lot of people. So make sure to check that out.
We were, just to mention, we were one of the first Christian outlets, platforms, podcasts to obviously we weren't the first because it was around, but in the YouTube sort of 2010s era, we were one of the first to entertain the flat earth thing and kind of spread that around.
Yeah. And, it was weird. We did it. It seemed as kind of a joke when we did it. It was not known at all. Yeah. And then actually through our episode on the flat earth, it sort of inspired a lot of other creators and scholars to look into it, and it helped.
It became a
that
thing.
Idea quite a bit.
It became a big thing.
We did not think it would become a thing, but it did.
Yeah, maybe we were psyoped. But yeah, just to mention that it's all documented. 2015 March, I think, is when we did the Flat Earth episode. If you guys want to look, at
it's old school. It's old school stuff, but a great podcast, and we recommend everybody check it out. It's a different show from this show, but over there on the Canary Cry Radio Patreon, that's patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. We have a brand new producer, and their name is Gerard. So thank you very much, Gerard, Frank, and Gerard. Our new producers, everybody in chat, thank them because they're the best. Now, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. We understand. We have other ways of supporting the show, and you can find those ways at canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. And people love this. CanaryCryRadio.com/support because there's ways to support the show that are not Patreon. There's PayPal options. There's recurring support amounts. There's one-time donations that you can make in any amount if if commitment's not your thing. There's also cryptocurrency, all sorts of fun ways to support the show. Please consider heading there and becoming a producer that way. Gons, did we have any producers come in over there?
We did, but they're all recurring. So thank you for all the producers.
Are they new recurring or are they recurring?
I think
recurring?
All these were recurring.
Okay.
I don't believe we had any new recurring people from between Monday now, but we do appreciate all of the producers.
To our ongoing, Thank you to our recurring producers. You guys are the best. Let's see. Now, other ways to support the show. Very important. You can create art. You can create jingles. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. Gons, do we have any art? One art, please.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hold on. Where's my art jingle? Here it is.
One art, please.
Yahoo!
We do have some art, but before we do, I just want to mention, Mr. Magoo, thank you for your jingle that you sent in. It crashed my computer, so please send it again. Completely. I don't know what was wrong with the file. It just did not open properly.
This is fun, Gons. Just a quick update from chat. There's a movement slowly building in the chat to call people to send us $33.
Oh,
they're trying to send a signal. We'll see if any of that happens, but I'm watching it in chat. It's very fun.
Yeah, you're open to send us as much as you'd like. $33 would be very interesting. We have a couple pieces that we need to share from our good artist, Ali Ghislaine Bonds. There's two of them here. One is Gons as a horse and Basil as a horse. So I don't know why I only get the headshot. You get the full body shot.
Oh, so majestic.
Yeah. So
I
there
like
we
this.
are.
This is this alternate universe where we are podcasting horses.
It's part of the show.
Wow, very talented, Allie. Always talented.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Look at the muscles on that thing. I like it.
Yeah, very good job. So that was we love the art. We keep getting art from Allie, and we appreciate it. And one of our younger listeners, and we're so grateful that you're listening and you contribute to the show. I think she is the youngest producer. So thank you, producer Allie.
Absolutely.
And we also got one from Jayvela, also a prolific contributor with art. And there was a note from Jayvela that I wanted to read here. It was Jayvela's birthday art. Just wanted to let you guys know that I'll be spending the evening watching Canary Cry Radio with my Twitch family as usual. Then I will finish the night out with my children under the big Texas sky to watch the annual meteor shower, which falls and peaks every year on my birthday, the 12th. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that while I'm looking up throughout the night, I'll be giving all praise and all thanks to the Lord many times for all my blessings and forgiving all of my sins, transgressions, which are many. I will also be praying for both you guys and your families, and for all my brothers and sisters out there. I pray He keeps us all safe, sound, and steadfast. And when time comes that He does not let fear triumph over us, instead I pray He turns that fear into quick action, muscle reflex, kapow, and amen. So
thank you very much, Jayvela, and happy birthday. Yeah. I wonder if we should add a birthday segment on the show. I don't know. It might be too much, but if it is your birthday, let us know. If you're going to be watching live, we might mention it.
Yes.
I'm making no commitments, but it is fun telling our producers happy birthday.
Yes.
And yes, the art is very good. We've got, in classic Jayvela fashion, kind of a collage here of many different things. Let's see. We've got some warrior angels, one of them wearing a gas mask and a sword and what looks like a torch in the other hand. We've got Psalms 25 on a shield, August 12th with a meteor shower over the earth, and some people watching it, perhaps Jayvela themselves. What else we got here? Joshua 24:15, nice little family, all sorts of good stuff, and a fun rendition of the Canary Cry look.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Anything else?
I think that is it
That is it. Okay. Remember, everybody, please remember to support us. If you can go to patreon.com/CCNT or canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
All right. Wake up, Gons.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
I want to start with this mask thing here.
Yeah, go quickly because I think we're going to do the mask.
We're going to have to just zoom through some things. So this is from WashingtonPost.com, so you know it's legit.
I can't pull it up on my end.
Oh, you can't pull it up on your end. Why is that?
Paywall.
Oh, you've used all your your free Washington Post propaganda, huh?
Yeah.
All right, you got to pay for your propaganda these days. The headline is, "This is no longer a debate. Florida sheriff bans deputies and visitors from wearing masks." On Tuesday, as Florida set a daily record for COVID-19 deaths, Marion County Sheriff Billy Woods prohibited his deputies from wearing masks at work. His order, which also applies to visitors to the sheriff's office, carves out an exception for officers in some locations, including hospitals, and when dealing with people who are at high risk or suspected of having the novel coronavirus. In an email to the sheriff's department shared with the Washington Post, Woods disputed the idea that masks are a consensus approach to battling the pandemic. Quote, "We can debate and argue all day of why and why not. The fact is, the amount of professionals that give the reason why we should, I can find the exact same amount of professionals that say why we shouldn't," Woods wrote in an email, which was first reported by the Ocala Star-Banner. A majority of epidemiologists and other health experts say face masks and social distancing are key to slowing the spread of the novel coronavirus, which has ravaged Florida. The state, which has recorded more than 542,000 cases and more, including the man who died on his motorcycle there, and more than 8,600 deaths, added 277 more deaths on Tuesday. Marion County also set a record for daily deaths on Tuesday with 13. Police nationwide have faced scrutiny over inconsistent use of masks by officers, even in large cities like New York and Philadelphia, where face coverings are mandatory. Many large departments only suggest officers wear masks. ABC News recently found while those that require them, including the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, make exceptions for incidents where masks might impede officers in the line of duty. Woods is among the first law enforcement officials to outright ban masks for his deputies, though. He issued the order as Marion County and its largest city, Ocala, are mired in a politically charged debate over a mandatory mask rule. The Ocala City Council passed an emergency mask order last week, but Mayor Kent Gwynn vetoed it, citing in part a refusal by Ocala Police Chief Greg Graham to enforce the rule. Quote, "My chief and I have talked about it. We will never write a fine. We're just not going to do it," Gwynn told Sky 97.3 FM on Monday. The city council plans to meet Wednesday to consider overriding the veto, the Star-Banner reported. Woods, meanwhile, told his deputies on Tuesday to stop wearing masks in most cases. While officers can still mask up in areas including the courthouse and the county jail, they must immediately take off the face coverings afterwards. Deputies working special events are also forbidden from wearing masks, Woods said. All visitors to sheriff the blah, blah, blah. They basically repeat themselves for another 4 paragraphs. There you go, Gons. An actual ban on wearing masks over there in Florida.
Hallelujah.
He's no superhero.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
He's not listening to Batman.
I know, you gotta listen to Batman. This is interesting. I don't know. I'm realizing that I'm just a contrarian on so many levels because, of course, I don't like a mandatory mask law or getting fines for not wearing it. But I'm also like, yo, Sheriff, now you're banning masks? That just makes me want to wear a mask.
Oh, there you go.
You can't tell me what to do.
Dialectic.
I know this reverse psychology is working.
It's the reverse psychology. It's coming back around. See, it's a circle. Everything's a circle.
You can't tell me what I can and can't put on my face, Mr. Sheriff. Take this.
Okay. All All right. Well, let's do one more story real quick, and then we got to call it a day here. And it's a CRISPR update.
CRISPR. Cas9.
This is slashgear.com. So cool. I'm so cool with my slash gear. The world's first gene-edited squid and why it's historic.
Ooh.
Yeah, researchers have revealed this week that they've been successful in gene editing a squid for the first time in human history. Cephalopods, am I saying that right? Cephalopods? Cephalopods are used to study Alzheimer's and Parkinson's due to their significantly large brains. Using the DNA editing tool CRISPR, a genetically altered squid will potentially jumpstart major advances in the study of neurodegenerative diseases of many sorts. The manipulation of cephalopod genes hasn't been particularly realistic in the past. Studying cephalopod innards has been possible, but because of the physical makeup of the creature, the editing of their embryos hasn't really worked out well. I don't know what that means. Does that mean they've killed a lot of squids, or they have the ... there too? Researchers published this week outlined the world's first gene knockout in a cephalopod. CRISPR-Cas9 proved, quote, highly efficient in gene editing squid embryos. The test here was whether these researchers would be able to affect the squid's pigmentation and growth. As shown in the images above, the pigmentation was successfully knocked out with the gene edits done in the study, where otherwise there would be black dots in this squid. The creature remains transparent. And you can see the picture for those watching, or if you go to Canary Cry Radio or canarycrynewstalk.com, you can click on the article and you can see these clear squid embryos, which is kind of interesting. Per the study discussion, quote, our methods for gene knockout should be readily adopted by other research groups. Lolignid squid are available worldwide, and our methods do not require specialized equipment. When the D-Palais genome is released, CRISPR sgRNAs can be designed to avoid off-target edits. Gene knockouts similar to this have been useful research tools for the study of butterflies, amphipods, zebrafish, and other creatures. The success these researchers have found in gene editing squid may be the most important use of the CRISPR tool yet, not least of all because of the potential of the method for future squid studies. And it kind of goes on and on and on. But there you go.
What are they doing to these squid?
They're making them albino, I think, is what they're doing.
Ooh.
Albino squids and transparent
delicious.
squids. So they can see inside and more stuff. But it's very it's borderlines Nephilim update, but it wasn't quite a Nephilim update, so I didn't go there. But it was a CRISPR update.
CRISPR. Cas9.
Okay, Gons, I'm just going to read this really quickly because I don't think we're ever going to get back to it, and it's very, very short.
Okay.
All right. So this is last story real quick here. U.S. News, Air Force helicopter shot at over Virginia. This is American soil. An Air Force helicopter operating over Virginia on Monday was reportedly shot at, injuring one member of the crew and prompting an FBI investigation. The UH-1N Huey helicopter. Okay, then it just tells us about the helicopter. The FBI dispatched special agents and its evidence response team to the airport after receiving reports about the shooting. Its Washington field office said in a statement provided to the U.S. News, it is currently conducting a joint investigation with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations and local law enforcement agencies. McClatchy first reported the incident. Multiple officials at the Manassas Regional Airport told the news outlet that they received an emergency call shortly after noon on Monday before the helicopter made an emergency landing there, where it was met by paramedics to treat the injured crewman. The crewman, whose identity was not released, was was taken to a local hospital for treatment for a non-life-threatening injury and has subsequently been released. The aircraft also sustained damage, the Air Force said. The FBI is soliciting help from the public for its investigation. Anyone with information about the incident can call the Washington field office, and then gives the phone number there. But this is pretty crazy, Guns. This is a much bigger deal than I feel like it's getting the attention for. This is a military helicopter flying over American soil, took fire. It sounds like it was just small arms fire. But it was 1,000 feet in the air. So, you either got a really good marksman shooting at this thing, or there was, a hailstorm of bullets, though. It's pretty hard to hit a helicopter at 1,000 feet with, some sort of normal firearm, unless it's standing still and you've got a great targeting system. But yeah, this is pretty crazy. I mean, in the context of a sort of civil war breaking out, which is sort of a low-level fear going on around the country, an actual military helicopter taking fire and, a crewman getting hurt and having to make an emergency landing, that's not nothing. I'll tell you that much.
It might have been
aliens.
Oh, could have been aliens. You never know.
Although they're supposed to stop the whole nuclear or any kind of war exchange, according to some ufologists. So
yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Well, there you go, folks. Okay, you good, Guns?
I'm good. Yeah, we got it.
Okay, good. Well, let's we'll get out of here real quick, but I do want to remind people. Oh my gosh, we have gotten a couple. From the chat revolution, sending us $33. I see a couple of those have come in. Ooh. Thank you to the couple of you who have done that. We appreciate that. We will be giving you an extra special shout out next show. Gons, am I correct in saying that the Friday show is kind of up in the air right now?
Yeah, we may not be able to get to it, but I'll keep you posted.
We'll keep everybody posted.
We'll try to get everyone
so perhaps a show this Friday. We might have to skip the Friday show, in which case we'll see you on Monday. So make sure to tune back in, subscribe all over the place, hit the like button, make sure you got notifications turned on, because we'll be back. We'll do a post on our Facebook or something about the Friday show, if indeed it won't happen. But remember, send in art, send in jingles, and become a producer for next show by going to patreon.com/CCNT or canarycryradio.com/support. And
was I supposed to hit it?
I was going to give you a second to do it, and if you didn't, I was just going to zoom right past it. But here we are talking about it. canarycryradio.com/support. There we go. Okay, remember us for next show. Thank you very much. And remember, just share out an episode. You got people in your life who are waking up, realizing that things are not what they seem. Just grab an episode of the show, send it to them. We'll help them down the narrow path of truth. And if you want any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, all together now, think outside the cage.
Aliens.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
Canaries in a cage.
This is deep.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Stop this progress before it is too late!
I'm for the robots.
And melt those babies into candles.
killed.
Rattle her cage a little bit more.
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I wanna stir up some controversy. I wanna rattle a few cages. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I get I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on. Fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you, yeah, you, in my people's zoo.